in college when your family got their first car?
And that's how we ended up over there. They bought that house. They were buying it.
So they bought a house brand new?
Yes.
5, 4,
Who knew that?
2,
Who knew that?
1.
Palm Bluff would come up, like University of Palm Bluff, or like I know you all know it's Branch Normal and AM and N. Welcome to the Branch Normal Collection. This is take 3 for me. I'm trying to wake up. It's literally 7 a.m. I woke up around 4:30 a.m. to get prepared for this interview today. We're going to be talking with Jalila Williams. It's 7 a.m. East Coast time in Philadelphia. It's 7 p.m. I think, or let's see, it's 6 p.m. in Thailand. So we'll talk about that in a second when we interview Jalila Williams. We're going to be talking to her about her company Bohemian Footprints, which is all about like really travel and culture and events. So we'll talk about Bohemian Footprints. We'll talk some about yoga, and we'll talk about some other things as well. For now, let's get into our spotlight. This week we're going to spotlight Mae Jemmison. I have a few notes here. Mae Jemmison. Well, I'll tell you what I like know off the top of my head. Oh, sorry if you can hear my house shoes. Yeah, when I wake up at 7 a.m., I'm still in my house shoes. Hold on one second. What I've always known is that she was the first African American woman to go into outer space. All right. She was born in Decatur, Alabama, on October 17th, 1956. Though she was raised in Chicago. She's an American engineer, physician, and former NASA astronaut. She became the first black woman to travel into space when she served as a mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Let's see. She was the youngest of 3 children. Her father was a maintenance supervisor for a charity organization, and her mother worked most of her career as an elementary school teacher of English and math at a school in Chicago, Illinois. Jemmison had a great love for dance from a young age. I was watching one interview. She really gets into how tough of a decision it was to choose between dance and the path she took towards NASA and becoming the first black woman astronaut. Jemmison had a great love for dance from a young age. She learned several styles of dance, including African and Japanese, as well as ballet, jazz, and modern dance. As a child, Jemmison had aspirations of becoming a professional dancer. While she was attending Stanford University, Jemmison served as head of the Black Students Union. She also choreographed a musical and dance production called Out of the Shadows. During her senior year in college, she struggled with the choice between going to medical school or pursuing a career as a professional dancer after graduation. Jemmison attended Cornell Medical School, and during her training, she traveled to Cuba to conduct a study funded by the American Medical Student Association, and she also lived in Thailand for a little while. She worked for flying doctors stationed in East Africa, and during her years at Cornell, she also continued to study dance by enrolling in classes at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Just a little information about her time in space. Jemmison flew her only space mission from September 12th to September 20th of 1992. It was a cooperative mission between the United States and Japan. Jemmison logged 190 hours, 30 minutes, 23 seconds in space and orbited the Earth 127 times. She took a poster from the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater along with her on the flight. She also took a West African statuette and a photo of pioneering aviator Bessie Coleman, the first African American with an international pilot license. Now, I was about to spotlight Bessie Coleman today, but with Mae Jemmison living in Thailand for a little bit, I chose her. But I will spotlight Bessie Coleman sometime soon in one of the upcoming episodes, because I really do want to highlight her and have people check out documentaries about her as well. But today, our spotlight is Mae Jemmison. There is a book called Find Where the Wind Goes that was published in 2001. It's a memoir of Mae Jemmison's life, and it was written for children, though I'm pretty sure it's good for all ages. And if you want to check out a documentary that has a little bit more information, check out Black in Space, Breaking the Color Barrier. And I'll put a link to this in the description. But it's called Black in Space, Breaking the Color Barrier. It's a Smithsonian Channel documentary on Black people in space. And also, some people will be interested in this. My uncle David was a huge Star Trek fan, and Mae Jemmison appeared on Star Trek a few times, starting with an episode in 1993. LeVar Burton learned that Jemmison was an avid Star Trek fan and asked her if she would be interested in being on the show. In 1993, Jemmison appeared as Lieutenant Palmer in the Second Chances episode of the science fiction television series Star Trek: The Next Generation, becoming the first real-life astronaut to appear on Star Trek, which is pretty cool. And so that's Mae Jemmison. You can easily find interviews with her on YouTube. I was just checking out a 30-minute interview with her a few minutes ago. You can find some documentaries and some spotlights on her on YouTube pretty easily. So Google her, check her out, find out more information about her. I just gave you a little bit. And yeah, check out Mae Jemmison. And now we're going to get into our interview with Jalila Williams. All right, yo. Welcome, Jalila Williams, to the Branch Normal Collection. Welcome back. This is actually our second time.
I know. Yeah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm gonna jump right in. So my first question, when you were preparing to move to Thailand, what did you do to prepare for the move?
To be quite frank with you, there was not a whole lot of forethought of preparation before I left to go to Thailand, because it was something that I knew I wanted to do. But like in terms of preparing, I just was doing what was necessary to get myself ready, like basically selling my car, quit giving my job the notice that it needed, saving all the money that I could. And that was really about it. But I would suggest that for most people who are trying to move abroad, the first things that you should definitely look into, I would suggest, and I know this now from my own experience, definitely look into getting international or travel insurance, because things happen and you don't want to ever find yourself in a position where you are compromised with your health or with any type of safety and you don't have anything to cover you. So I would think that was probably the first thing I should have done. So that's something that's very important. Also, try to definitely, this is something I actually did do, try to keep an eye on exchange rates. Try to keep an eye on how often the currency changes between the dollar and the currency changes with the country that you're going to, so that you can see the behavior of it. And that way it allows you to kind of have some sort of idea of how much money you should take with you to turn into that currency and how much you want to keep for the US dollar. Now, for me, because I eventually ended up staying, I turned it all into Thai baht, but being able to pay attention to the exchange rate helped me to better understand how much I was spending in US dollar value and how much was needed for the Thai baht value. So those are some things I did as well. And I would say definitely try to get yourself, if moving to Asia, get some Black-owned products. Get some Black-owned. I was thinking that, I would just buy my hygiene products when I got there. I get here, everything has like skin whitening. Everything is just like not for me, not for my skin. So definitely try to get like hygiene lotions or deodorants or like hair products, especially ladies, hair products for you.
Well, how do you
Yeah.
get them there? Because right, there's a limit on how what you can bring on a plane. I guess you put it in your checked luggage.
Yeah, you can. I put enough in my checked luggage to kind of just carry me over for the first few months. And I use a shampoo brand. It's Black owned. It's based in Maryland called Zeresh. And that it's a very big container that can last me probably about 3 or 4 months. So I bought two and I brought those over with me. And I just brought like some organic deodorants because all of my skincare and hygiene products mostly are organic. And then in the time that I was here, while using those things, I was just looking around in my community, expat communities, asking them, "Hey, what have you done to keep up with your regimen of hygiene and things like that?" So yeah, I would definitely try to make sure you have enough of the products that you use. That was something that I also learned eventually later on. So yeah, those are some key things to definitely prepare for.
Got you. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking, do you? So a lot of people are ordering from Amazon here, ordering things offline. Do you find yourself still doing that? Do you do that at a higher frequency or more often than you did when you were here? Because I'm just thinking about
No.
shipping, getting packages, things like that.
No, so there are two companies that are somewhat like Amazon. One is called Lazada, and they're like the Amazon of Asia, basically. I know that they deliver to Thailand and Vietnam. I'm not sure what other countries that they deliver to, but definitely Vietnam and Thailand. And they have a lot of the things that you would like, and they don't really come from far distances. So I don't pay a lot of shipping with those particular purchases. And also Shopee. Shopee is the second online website where you can buy things. Don't really use Shopee too much. It's my second choice. If I'm using Lazada and I don't find it there, then I'll go to Shopee and I'll use it there. But haven't really ordered much off of Amazon, if not at all, since I've been out here because the shipping fees are insane. And it takes a lot longer too, because a lot of what you're trying to get from Amazon might come from the United States or might come from Europe or something. And so Thailand is a long way. So I didn't really have the need to order things from there.
Got you. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions just to give us a better idea of what it just feels like to live in Thailand for somebody who's never been, and just some of these are going to be general questions about what it feels like to live outside of the U.S. because we have our ideas, right? These ideas of like, oh, I'm not going to have internet there. I'm not going to have clean water. We go down the line, you know what I mean? And so as far with those things, even with just like public transportation or how you're getting around, Wi-Fi, access to food, how has that been? How those things been for you since living?
Yeah, so it's pretty modern here, to be honest with you. They have normal internet. I purchase internet. It's not expensive. It might be about $26 a month. And it's reliable. My apartment came with free Wi-Fi, but it is not dependable. So, you get what you pay for. In terms of like getting around, most foreigners who come to live in Thailand, if they don't live in Bangkok, which is extremely convenient because it's a very large metropolis, they get around with a motorbike. So I have a motorbike and I've been driving that now for almost 3 years. It is the dopest mode of transportation I've ever had. Like,
that was fun.
I'll take a motorbike over a car any day. Yes, it is also risky. And again, please make sure that you have insurance as you are driving it. Also have an international driver's license. Especially if you live in bigger cities like Phuket or in Chiang Mai. Here in Nakhon Sawan, where I live, they're not really checking for foreigners and checking our licenses and stuff like that. But it is still good to have, because I will go to different cities and drive there, and police will stop you. And it's just also have the proper documentation, like just take better care of yourself. You could have better insurance, or you will have insurance if you have the documents needed to even drive a motorbike here. So it'll all come as a great investment. I would have to say that my town is not a touristy town. It is very much like classic conservative Thai. Nakhon Sawan is in the center part of Thailand, and it has a lot of Chinese influence and also has a lot of Chinese descendants who live here, even though they are Thai. So a lot of Chinese culture also plays into the community here, as well as Thai culture. And it's very homogenous. Like Chiang Mai, you'll find, of course, Thais are everywhere, but you'll find like your specks of foreigners all over the city. In Bangkok, same, Phuket, or any of like the smaller islands in the south, you'll find that you'll have like your specks of foreigners here and there. But in Nakhon Sawan, there are not many foreigners here. And there are definitely not a lot of Black girls with long locks. So I am in a very homogenous community where pretty much everyone like shares the same features and looks almost the same. And I stand out, like glaringly stand out to people. And in the beginning, that was very intimidating. It was very intimidating because not only do I stand out as a Black woman, but also social customs here are very different. The way people greet or the way people say farewell is also very different. Thais don't really engage in casual contact. So I found myself not hugging anyone for 4 or 5 months. And that will get to you when you don't hug. We hug people all the time. Oh, hey, how you doing? Well, I don't know with COVID how much people are hugging, but in general, right? In general, like, and like greeting, and it's a dap up, or
like, hey, like this, like this.
Yes.
Like, weird.
Well, no, they give you a nice head tilt and a bow, like sawadee ka, and they give you a greeting like that. And when they say farewell, they'll do the same thing. But there is no like hugging or shaking hands or a high five or even a fist bump. And so, it was just very weird having that. And I actually felt the effects of that. I was just like, wow, I haven't hugged anyone in a long time. So in the first 5 months, it was a very difficult adjustment, being stared at daily, just like being stared at like hard, like they're not discreet. They just stare at you and they will keep staring at you. One woman crashed her motorbike staring at me. She was not paying attention. She did not get hurt, but she messed up her bike. Oh yeah, she messed up her bike, man. I was walking and she was just like, what is going on here? And then boop, like she just crashed her bike into a whole bunch of other parked bikes. It's really crazy because where we come from, we see all walks of life. Right. And so when they look at me, they're just like, where does she come from? And why of all places, why is she here? Oh, she must be a teacher. She must be a teacher. So they'll assume I speak English, and some are very kind, or most people are very kind. And at this point, now that I've been here nearly 3 years, I've kind of gained some sort of, everybody recognizes me. They know who I am. I still get stares, but not so often.
So are they even seeing Black people on TV? Like, are they, because, we always hear like, oh, hip hop and Oprah is what foreigners are seeing of us as a representation, or like Beyonce or something at this point, I guess. Oh,
Beyonce is a super hard like example of a lot of Blackness. I remember I've seen like Beyonce used as an example in some of the textbooks I was teaching in class, and I thought it was kind of hilarious. Yeah, but no, they do definitely. Like Black culture is it seeps into all parts of the world. And people see it. And you got a lot of Thais here in this small part of Nakhon Sawan that listen to Tyga. They listen to Migos, like they do, and they rock to it hard. But it's just on TV, like that image is the only image they know. I don't look like I come off of a Tyga or Migos music video, so here is somebody who has like Black skin, right? And not only that, but speaks perfect English, and the hairstyle also is just very unusual to them. So I was a walking anomaly, so I understood the confusion. I understood the confusion. I understood the intrigue, and they don't, like, again, they don't really have discretion with these things. In America, like, we try not to stare at people or anything that might look different or catch our eye, or we try to just be discreet about it, but they don't have that dynamic with themselves. They just kind of look and sometimes they'll speak, and it's been interesting. So that was actually a really weird adjustment. And it took about 6 months or maybe less to get used to it. I never really cared. It didn't bother me, but by 6 months, I was just like, oh, if someone's staring, I'm waving or I'm smiling. And I just it didn't really faze me anymore. And even today, I still get stares. I still get people looking at me. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've moved from like Maryland to Georgia before.
Yeah.
Right.
Where everybody looks like me.
Yeah. And so it's like, I guess not even different. I guess when you get like the southern part of Georgia, it might be different. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I guess that's like that is a huge difference, I guess. What is so like just when it comes to food, do you find yourself like cooking more than you did before? Do you find yourself going out to restaurants a lot? Do you in general, are you able like to find food? Because this is something we always like kind of talk about, just being in the US. We think we're not gonna be able to find anything to eat. We have a lot of times when we think about Asian foods, we think it's gonna be like some weird food. Even with COVID, right? I've seen. So I was working in like I was working at the Children's Hospital in Philly, and when COVID started, I saw a lot of people stop going to the Asian restaurants there in the hospital, right? Just based off like, oh, that's the China flu and all of that. So just like, yeah, which is crazy. Like, it's crazy here. Yeah. You've been going the whole time, which is good. Like, thank God.
Yes.
You missed 2020 in the
United States. Yeah. I jumped ship off of that one. Yeah.
For real.
But the food, I love Thai food, honestly. Yeah. Like, I'm somewhat of a foodie. Like, I like to try foods in the countries that I go to, because food is essentially a component of culture. You taste a lot of the history. You taste a lot of the pizzazz. Like the essence of like where this came from, like how they put these two flavors together. I think food is an experience. It's not just about. It's not just about like, it is a lot about taste, right? A lot of the food tastes great. But I do cook here, but I buy food more often because I just don't have the fully functional kitchen that I would like. But sometimes when I just want to like kind of experiment with my own different ways of cooking Thai food, or if I just really don't want to spend any money, and especially with COVID going out too much, I just cook at home. So I would say maybe roughly about twice a week I cook at home, or even 3 times a week I'll cook at home. And then sometimes I'll use some of the food that I cooked for dinner, for lunch. All my breakfast is mostly just fruit. I don't really eat heavy breakfast. The breakfast that they have here is very heavy for me. They'll do fried chicken and rice for breakfast, like straight up. Yeah. And I'm just like, I just woke up. I don't really want my stomach to go through that right now, So like, like I'll just make me a PB&J and some fruit, or like they have cereals. So I'll make some cereals, real simple stuff. You know what I mean? But the food here is an experience, not just with taste, but also how Thais dine. So what I noticed with foreigners and Westerners, we'll just get our own plates. You get what you want. You get what I get what we want. We might get one shareable dish, but for the most part, everybody gets what they want. And you might say, oh, can I try that? Oh, can I have some of this? And everybody will sample a little bit of everyone's food or someone's food. But Thais order maybe 5 or 6 plates of something that everybody wants. And everybody grabs their portion of all of those plates of what they want. And it's just it's a more communing experience. Like everybody is enjoying everything. And I really like that. And I really want us to do more of that, because then when it's time for the bill to come, it's just like, let's just pay everybody, just pay your portion. Everybody just kind of, it's not a, oh, who had this? Oh, I didn't buy that, or I didn't eat any of that. So I'm not, it's not like that. And it's a beautiful experience to just be like, okay, this person is ordering this plate. I've never had that before, but it sounds interesting, you know? And then when it comes and I taste it, it's delicious. Oh, I'll take more. Or I might not like it, you know, but there's a whole bunch of other things in front of me that I like. And so the dining experience, going out to eat with Thais, it's very fascinating to me. And it's more sensible, to be honest. It's just much more sensible the way that they eat. And I really like that, because some people don't like spicy foods. Somebody might not want to have something fried, or somebody may want noodles, or somebody may want rice. It's just all of what you want right in front of you, and you just take whatever you like.
I like that, because it allows you to try more foods that you may not have tried. If you can, so I'm a very indecisive like eater. Go with me to a restaurant, I'm really gonna be like, hey, what are you like? What are you about to order, and what are you thinking about ordering? Because I'll order what you're thinking about ordering, right? So you can try. I'm gonna definitely try some of yours, like all of that. So when I go out with my partner, that's really how we like order food, because like, I might get my food and not really like it, and you might love it. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
But I like the idea of like just like it being more communal, ordering like those 5 dishes, like 4 or 5 dishes or something like that, and like sharing it. I really like that idea. Now, when you're out and about, do you find that it's easy for people to just speak English to you, or like are you learning the language there? What is there a language barrier?
Absolutely not. Yes, there is a very big language barrier here. Some people do speak English, like maybe at the pharmacist, you might find a pharmacist that speaks decent English, at least enough to know how to communicate with you for the things that you may need, or if you're looking for something. And also some banks, not all banks actually, like my bank did not have anyone who spoke English there, and I had to bring a friend with me to help translate, because they're just documents and things and numbers and all kinds of stuff that they're asking for, and I just want to be clear on what these numbers and documents are. Doctor's appointments also, I had a friend, she helped me with that as well, because you just want to know. Well, with my eye doctor, I will say the dentist was fine. The eye doctor didn't know English. The dentist was great. Also, like going to the hospital to just get like a regular checkup or to get medical clearance for my job, the doctor that was seeing me also knew English. So like I find that people who are in like more like I would say white collar positions or things like that, where you are likely to run into a foreigner, most of those people are going to know some English to communicate what's necessary for you to understand. But like my fried chicken lady's not going to know English, like, or I go to the market to go get fruit. I know how to order fruit. I know how to order vegetables. I know a lot of the names of vegetables and fruit from the numerous times that I've gone to the market. These women, most of them are farmers. They are not going to know English. So I have to speak whatever Thai I know, and if I don't know, I'll ask them, what is this? Mi kualai, what is this? And then they'll tell me the name of it, and they'll repeat it until I say it right. So like that's how I learned how to say like certain vegetables and fruit. My fruit lady is responsible for definitely teaching me a little bit of Thai. I would also like to say that the children that I teach, like maybe 4, 5, and 6, where their English is very limited, they also teach me Thai, because they don't really know much English, apart from how are you, I am fine, or how old are you, or what's your name. When I hear them conversing or saying things, there are words that I pick up, like maybe 1 or 2 words, because their vocabulary is not so expansive, and their sentences are rather short, and they also speak a lot slowly. So like a lot of my children that I've been teaching also help me to understand a lot better. Maybe not so much pronounced, because, children are developing their speech and pronunciation as they're growing, but they definitely help me with a little bit of the vocabulary and understanding the tone of pronunciation. Sometimes they help with that. but yeah, just really kind of like winging it and just saying things incorrectly, saying it wrong. I've accidentally said curse words, and it's all fun and games, it's just, but it's a wonderful thing. Definitely Thai is top 3 hardest languages I've ever heard and also needed to learn. And I don't know how to read and write it. I'm an English teacher. I spend 80% of my time here teaching English and how to write it. But so I never actually gained any literacy from the characters, with the exception of my name. I know how to write that in Thai. But it is a very fascinating language. And one thing that I've learned is that the tones of languages, English and all, and just hearing tones of emphasis and everything, it makes language so fascinating to me because it emphasizes communication in ways that we are just oblivious to because we just speak to people and there's always just mutual understanding or things of that nature. But I like how learning a very, very different language has allowed me to pay very close attention to the tones of voice, to the tunes of like how people sing their words and everything. It's really interesting. It's a fascinating experience, but I'm glad. I wish I could continue learning Thai when I get to the States, but I know that the language won't really be useful once I leave the country. But I know enough to definitely get by. So if I'm ordering some food, I know how to communicate to the guy who's delivering the food very well. I know how to speak to him. Because I order food a lot. And so that exchange is used a lot. But then I do something like go to the post office. Then that's when I know I don't really actually know that much Thai because I don't do that exchange.
Different set of like words and language.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like that's when I find how much Thai I don't know. But it's great to know that I was still able to learn as much as I did in the time that I've been here while also predominantly speaking and teaching English,
Right. No, that's cool. When you mentioned taking a friend to the bank with you,
yeah.
How did you're going from the United States to Thailand, how did you, I don't even want to say build friendships, but how do you get to like know people? Did you know somebody before you went there or did you meet people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, an old friend of mine, he was working here first and he was also from Maryland. And he put me onto the job that I have now. And also at my job, there are Thai teachers that work there that also speak English. Like they are Thai teachers who teach English. And there's one young woman there. She has helped me before going to the hospital or going to the doctors or whatever with translating services. Like they're willing to do it. Like, they don't mind. They want to do it because honestly, they kind of get a kick out of having to translate from Thai to English because they want to speak more English. So it's kind of cool for them. And yeah, you just kind of meet people. So then the guy I was telling you about who was working here, he had met a friend, and then she and I also became friends, and then we grew closer. And then I met her friends, whom are also Thai, and she also speaks English very well. And her friends, they also speak English very well. All of her friends are actually Thai English teachers at their school. So they all speak Thai very well. And then they also teach me Thai. And it's just, you form those relationships doing that, just meeting different people. You meet one Thai person, that Thai person is going to have friends. So then you meet their friends. And so you kind of, reach out doing it that way. And then last year, I had my event. And the way that I met my now really one of my cool homies, his name is Mick. I met him through the woman who works at this coffee shop around the corner called Tiny Table. And I see her regularly. Also, she does not know a lot of English, but in the best way possible, I try to meet her halfway with the Thai that I know. Or sometimes, hey, you just need Google Translate, no shame in Google Translate, So I told her she's young. She has a lot of young, like artists. A lot of artists come to her shop. Like I could, you could tell the artist kids when you see them. I know them when I see them because I've been around them.
Like
so I told her, So I told her about my event, and I said, I need this. I need a photographer. I need a videographer. Someone who's good. They need to be really, really good. So she started she started making calls. Hey, I need this. Hey, there's a foreigner. There's my friend. She's a friend. She needs this. She made calls. Next thing I know, I meet Mick. Mick then also is a big media guy. He has done work all over Thailand, based here in Nakhon Sawan. So I meet Mick, I meet his friends. And so like, it's all a butterfly effect after that, right? You just meet people and and then I had my event. So now they see what I'm about. They see the type of things that I'm into. So like if there are connections being made, I introduce Mick to my friends and he introduces me to his friends. And it's really good to kind of bring a collective of people together. And that's very meaningful to me, that I didn't just come out here and get a whole bunch of foreigner friends. Like I'm friends with actual Thai people. Like I can hang out with them and be with them and they'll speak Thai for 45 minutes. I don't know what they're talking about, but I am quite okay with it because I enjoyed just listening to them, and they just like us. They crack jokes, like they're funny, like they got personality, and even though I don't understand most of what they're saying, like I hear certain things that they might like egg at, or they might clown this dude over here, and it's funny, it's very nice. So yeah, it's nice to build a community where you are amongst the locals. It's very valuable.
Oh, that's cool. Like how you've been there about 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like the experience has changed you?
I really don't know. I know that it has changed me significantly and certainly, but I really think that I'll for sure know that how it has changed me by returning home.
You get back, yeah.
Yeah, because everything is still new. Like, with my Thai friends, like before COVID got crazy, they were taking me to these restaurants I never would have known. I would walk past or I drive past every day. These restaurants where they have good food, really good food, or like a restaurant that's like out of the city a little bit. The greatest coffee I've ever tasted. Like those experiences are really great. And they add to you. Like they add to you. They just like being able to see that you can do these things. Like I'm just looking at myself like, wow, I'm just a Black girl from Temple Hills, Maryland, and I'm out here eating like in Nakhon Sawan, Thailand with my Thai friends, and just looking at the open fields of like grass, and just it's kind of dope, like, and just now being, and at this point, having lived here 2.5 years, having familiarity with my fruit lady and speaking Thai to her, or going to the market and seeing the ladies and they all just, yeah, how you doing? Like I'm a regular, like I just, like that, like it's just a familial like connection. And they don't look at me so strange anymore. They just kind of like see, they're like, oh yeah, they know, they call me Kun Jalila. Kun is like miss, or like a respectful term of like,
Okay.
Kun Jalila.
Like
and they
translate it.
yeah, like Kun. No, not Kun. Kun, yeah, like so like it means like miss, or like, like or madam or something. So like that. Yeah. So they show me my respect. And I mean, just to kind of find that I've adapted my life to the momentum and the dynamic of life here from where I came from, that's not really going to be comprehended until I go back to where I came from, right? Because I'm still learning, I'm still doing, I'm still living in this life. As I have gotten acclimated, it's still very much seeping its way into my way of into just being and existing and doing and just going about life. And so I will definitely see it upon going back to America and then getting used to that momentum and getting back to that dynamic. Right. So
for sure. What's something that happened there that you didn't expect, or what was something that like you realized there that you just wasn't on your radar, you didn't expect?
Well, I don't, I think it was that, oh, you know what? When I traveled, I don't know. I traveled to the south of Thailand, and the Thai people, men especially, were very much more attracted to me there than they are here in the center part of Thailand. Now, Um, I have never seen a Thai man date a Black woman in Nakhon Sawan. I am sure that it happens, maybe somewhere, very rarely, but I was very shocked to see the treatment that I received in the south of Thailand when I went to visit, from the people there, from the women. They're also very much Muslim there. So yeah, it's just a whole different energy. It's a different vibe. So I at one point wanted to move to the south of Thailand before COVID. And I really just kind of liked their energy. It was just more irie, more like more beachy and just kind of like bohemian and stuff like that. And I did not, yeah, and I did not expect that. And that was actually quite shocking for me to get that type of attention, like a different kind of attention that I got up here, where up here it was more of like curiosity, a little bit of intrigue, and just like, wow, that's very different. Where down there it was more of like, we appreciate you. Oh, thank you for just being here. Like, there is no question about why I look the way I look. It's just more of like, thank you for being so beautiful. It was really it was really humbling. I really enjoyed that.
You sound like you might move there one day. You sound like you still might.
I listen, it's anything's possible. I definitely plan to come back to Thailand once COVID just settles down a little bit. And I would have to say that another thing that I did not expect was forming very, very close relationships with some of the children that I taught over the years. I taught some kids for the whole time that I've been here, for 2.5 years. I've been teaching them. And to see them growing, like from maybe like 3.5 or 4 years old to now being like 5, almost 6 years old, it's actually, and seeing the type of relationship that I've built with them, the type of trust that I have with them, and just seeing children grow, watching children grow. I had never had that in my teaching experience before, because I never really stayed anywhere long enough to see students move up to one grade, to the next grade, to the next grade. But to see how much these children have grown, one, and to know that I'm very much responsible for the English that they speak today, because they've only been seeing me. They haven't been seeing many other teachers. And to just really look at how much that they know and how much progression that they've made, and to know that I had a lot to do with it, or had all to do with it. And to just see like their personalities come out a little bit more as they get older, to see them developing, their voices changing and everything. It was quite moving. It was very, very moving. And I did not expect that. It's to be expected, but it's just not something that you really look for until time passes and you're just like, wow, you're so big. I'll look at a video from you from 2 years ago and I was just like, oh my God, you were so cute. Were you that small when I started here? And now I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so large.
Right.
You
Which
know,
happens
so
in 2 years for kids. Yeah.
yeah, especially at like 3 and then they're 5, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's been definitely a really great experience watching and witnessing.
Got you. Now, do you think as far as cost of living, you've lived in Maryland and like DC area before you move, is it a higher cost of living where you are now, or a lower cost of living, you would think?
It is significantly lower. Like,
Yeah.
my cost of rent is the cost of most people's internet package, like maybe from Comcast. That's how much. Yeah, you know, it's insane. It's insanely cheap. It is insane. Like when I had this conversation with a few of my Thai friends. They thought that my rent was expensive. They were just like, yeah, that is expensive. And I was like, you have to understand where I come from. Like this, I know for Nakhon Sawan, maybe it is expensive, but you have to understand that paying 5,000 baht, which is equivalent to roughly about $163 to $165. There is no place in America. Like I had to, I was like, can you understand $165 for rent is unheard of. You couldn't even get a corner. You have a chair. You could buy a living room, a set, a sofa. You could buy that for $165 in one time, but that's about it. I was like, that's about it. Like, and so when they asked me, they were like asking me, well, how much is average rent where you come from? And I was just like, I told them the amount, and I used the currency converter. I was like, in where I live in my neighborhood, you might get a good or decent apartment for $1,900. $1,900 is a lot of freaking Thai baht. Where like that's like six. That's like nearly like 60,000 baht. It's really ridiculous.
You're you're essentially paying like for what you pay here for a month, you could pay there for a whole year.
Oh yeah, easily. That's why it's comfortable, man. Like ever since I've lived out in Thailand, I've never had to worry about money. That is a beautiful feeling. I'm going to take that with me forever too. Like I don't think about money. I'm not concerned about it. I mean, I'm only looking at it to make sure that I'm keeping up to speed with the currency exchange rates, to just look and see how much I have to pay when I want to transfer money home or anything like that. And, but for the most part, I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. But, economically speaking, also understand that when things have a lower price and value, then also your income respectively will counterbalance or match that. But even how much I get paid a month here, it still helps me to live very comfortably within my means, because I have to buy gas for my motorbike, and I have to go to the market to buy food, or I might buy food every now and again. So like it's really like it's a really comfortable way of living. It's very, very comfortable. And so in America, if I'm getting paid maybe $60,000 a year, or let's just even say $50,000 a year, and I have an apartment that might be $1,800, that still doesn't count the internet, the food, the gas I have to spend on the car, and other essentials that I have to pay for, in addition to that, and other monthly costs and expenses that add to it. Whereas at the end of the month, you're like, well, after both paychecks, I don't really have much to account for it. So while this is a very significant salary compared to what I would be making in Thailand, it's just about what can you account for at the end of the month? What can you account for yourself? I apologize. They're doing announcements. I'm not sure if you're picking that up or not.
It's all good. Who's doing announcements?
They do daily announcements at like sometimes at 1:30, sometimes at 2. Yeah, it's just a woman. I don't know where she comes from, but she speaks, and the announcements there are speakers all on the streets, but I don't think she's that loud, so we're okay.
Wow. All right. So I'm curious. What are they announcing? Like, what are these announcements about?
I think it's just, like up to date. It's all in Thai, so I don't know. Wow. But I think like I'll hear them saying some things about COVID. So they might be talking about restrictions or what things are allowed and what things are going to be implemented in regards to COVID. They might be talking about what services are available at the hospital. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but they do it for maybe about 15 minutes, and then
Okay, every day.
Yeah. Well, Monday through Friday.
Okay, got you. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I need the news. I want to walk outside and like hear. I want some announcements, like
they give you daily they give you daily announcements, and it's heard all throughout the city, and it's So I know, but I definitely hear COVID in there, so I'm like, well, they're saying something about COVID.
All right, so what do you do for entertainment there? What do you do? Not even just you, but like what happens there? What do people do for entertainment? Are they like concerts, is it sports events? Like what types of things? Like
so pre-COVID, people here in Nakhon Sawan, you got a few restaurants and bars. They have live music. They got one club called Bon Bon, and they have karaoke. Nice. So me and my foreigner friends, we would do karaoke. I don't really do the clubs much. I didn't do it at home, so I definitely don't do it here. I went once or twice for the experience. Not really my vibe, but it was still, I could say that I did it.
What's the club like there? Is it?
Oh my gosh! So like, they'll have a DJ playing some modern music. Like they'll play a little bit of like modern music. They'll play some K-pop, some Korean pop. They'll play some Thai. They'll play a little bit of like there's some Thai trap music out here though. I really gotta,
Thai trap
yeah,
sounds okay.
yeah, I gotta find out the name of the artist, but there is some Thai trap music out here. It's quite interesting.
Cool.
But they'll play like a couple songs of that, and they might just play like a little bit of rap and hip hop. And then usually they have a local band and they come perform. And everybody knows the songs. I don't know the songs, and I'm not really feeling the music too tough. So, you know, it's all good. But for me, I just like to chill. Like I would say that being out here has taught me to kind of just you know, fall back on like, you know, scenes like that. Like it has kind of just made me be more like in my own solitude. So like if it wasn't karaoke or just kind of chilling at a friend's house for the weekend, it just be me chilling to myself. Or I might say, hey, I have 2 days off. I want to go to Bangkok. So I'll take a bus ride to Bangkok and go see some friends. And we go out there. And Bangkok has all kinds of stuff, rooftops and brunches. And it's really cool there. So just taking a trip to Bangkok was pretty entertaining. And also like festivals happen here. Again, pre-COVID, festivals were happening here. And, you know, they take a lot of pride in their culture. They take a lot of pride in everything that they do. So the festivals are really nice. And they were, you know, like it just is packed. You know, the city will fill up with all kinds of festivals. And those things would happen. There was probably about maybe 3 or 4 that happened in 1 year. So you have Songkran Festival, and then you had Loy Krathong Festival. And then you had at the end of the year, you had the New Year's Lantern Festival, which they had like lights all outside at the park, like all kinds of installations and everything. And then you also have Chinese New Year Festival. So there's all kinds of things that they like to do and involve themselves in to get people out. It's a very familial town, like family oriented town. So like in terms of like, you know, having more things to do for like young adults and young people, most of that's just going to be limited to bars and clubs and just going out in restaurants and listening to live music.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot to do when you say there's like a lot of festivals going on. And I know that. So, because what I'm thinking about here, like sometimes if you want to take the family out, you might be going skating, you might be going bowling or something like that. It just depends. Like, and so, but yeah, it sounds like it's quite a bit to do there, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I guess beaches there, I guess.
No, and not in the center. Like I'm like right smack dab in the middle of Thailand. So there is no beach near here. And it's actually quite the hottest part of Thailand. I would say the center, like Nakhon Sawan province and neighboring province around it, we are pretty much the hottest because there is no breeze or cold fronts from water. But right now, actually, it seems quite dry. But right now it's rainy season, and you know we do get quite a bit of rain during rainy season. It has not been raining lately, not that much, but during the summer season, which is usually from March until June, it is very hot. It is insanely hot. I mean, it's overwhelming. And even the Thais complain, man. Like they I go to the market or I go to 7-Eleven and they're just complaining to their friend about how hot it is. And you know, the crazy thing about it is that they are very fearful of their skin burning or, you know, their skin darkening. Man, they'll be out there with hoodies, long sleeve jackets, and it is like literally 100. Man, what? Okay, and it's like 101 degrees, and I'm just like, man, y'all crazy. I mean, full pants, and like got their whole arms covered, everything. I'm like, man, y'all crazy. I just couldn't do it.
Not trying to get too dark.
Nah, they ain't trying to get dark, and they also don't want their skin to get burned.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, and it is, you gotta be careful because you gotta have your SPF game on point.
Yeah, I mean, once you're over 100 degrees, I understand for sure.
Yeah.
So you said you've been doing events there. What kind of events have you been doing there?
So I was able to do one event last year, and it was called the Art Party. I am very proud of it because, again, trying to do something like that in this town was quite a bit of a challenge because a lot of people don't have spaces for creators to come together and do creative things. But I know that there are creative people here because I see art in places. So I'm like, y'all exist somewhere. I'm gonna figure out where you are, and I'm gonna just put an event together so y'all can come here and do your thing. So I did one last year called the Art Party. I was actually planning on doing another one this year at a different venue, but then COVID struck really bad, and so that wasn't, that's not going to be able to happen. But last year, I the Art Party was curated from the roots. Like I had to find a media team. I went to this place called Gorilla Tar that is owned by a woman. Her name is Tar. And I go to her, I go there all the time just to get on my laptop, do some work or send emails, whatever. And I just said, I like this space. Why don't I just try to have it here? So I spoke with her again, communicating effectively with someone whose English is very limited. I promise you, this is like a key essential skill that I believe that any job that hires me, that is something that's going to be quite impressive to them, because I had to communicate effectively to her pricing, budgeting, timing, the things I need, the things I want to properly execute this event, and to also meet the standards of her venue to make sure that, we find a common ground. And I already got a whole bunch of teacher friends that live here, so it was easy to spread the news to them. And then I invested into my own marketing. I ordered some posters from Bangkok to put them in 3 places. One at the coffee shop that I told you I go to all the time. She had some people check it out, come through to the party from seeing my poster there. I posted 2 of them at the venue space where I actually had the event. So, and I used my friends, my Thai friends. I told them to tell their friends, tell everybody. Mick and his media team told their friends, they told everybody. And so September 26th last year, I had the event, and it was a great turnout. I had foreign people, like teachers, like foreigners there, as well as Thais there. And that was very important to me, because what I was trying to avoid was to just have a big party for a bunch of foreigners. This was to be offered to the people of the land. This is for you. Like, I want you to be able to come and enjoy yourself with something that I'm able to give to you. This is my gift that I'm contributing to the community here. And so Mick brought a lot of young Thais who know how to draw, exceptional, like sketchers, very good drawers, people who like to take pictures, people who like to paint. Even if you're not an artist, you were just able to engage and congregate and just like have a good time with people and socialize with people, because there is like not much communication between foreigners and Thais, like unless you're working together. But here's a social activity where there's a Thai person painting on the canvas here, and there's a foreigner right there. There's another Thai person here. There's another foreigner here, and all of you are kind of working on the same thing. So you have to kind of you have to converse, you have to talk, and it just kind of helped build connections. And I was really, really proud of that. And it was my vision since before I left the States to at least host one event, if not several. I wanted to at least host one event so that I can say, okay, I now have international experience being able to curate and organize an event in a place like Nakhon Sawan. Let me tell you, if I could do this joint here, I could take this anywhere, and it can grow, So unfortunately with COVID, that has kind of created a screeching halt, but it was done. And I'm very proud of that event. I'm very proud of it. I really, really was sad about COVID striking the country really hard this year, because I was amped up to do a second one. But it's okay. I'm very, very proud and thankful that I was able to have the opportunity to do what I did last year, and everybody had a great time, and it was remarkable.
So the art party wasn't the first time you've done it. It was your first event there. But what was your first event that you did in general? The first event you curated in general?
So I did Artist Evolve November 6th, I think it's November 6th, 2015 in Washington, D.C. And that was back when I was a part of a collective called the Muzai House. and they had a venue space in Northeast Washington, D.C. on New York Avenue. And it was just a bunch of people who came to host events or shows or do whatever they wanted to do in that space. And it was proper. Like I liked it. It was just a whole bunch of the kids around the way who like to create and do things, loved music and all that kind of jazz. And so I had my event there first, and throughout 2016, I had 4 more events.
Oh wow.
And I was having them every 3 months. And it's crazy because the first time I had my art event, Artist Evolve, in November of 2015, I was only planning to do that joint one time. I was only planning to have one event. So, I had all the bells and whistles. I was like, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that. And it was so dope that people was like, yeah, when's the next one? I was like, oh, damn. I wasn't planning on doing the next one.
Sound like a bucket list item or something. Like it's like,
yeah. So, but I was like, but if it's in demand, I'll do it again. So then I did more of them in 2016. And the one thing that Artist Evolve has taught me is that when you're doing events, even if you probably only plan to do it one time, just to start small. Because I then had to make sure that all the events following the first Artist Evolve had to be up to that standard. And so there was just a lot to do. I had to call a lot of people. It was big. And I was just like, and it was so big because, again, I had only planned on doing it once. So now this is becoming regular, and the work and the energy put into trying to execute all of that, it was just a lot. And so I now know to be much more to be simpler with organizing and curating events, to make them smaller. Sometimes you can make them more intimate. They don't have to be this big exhibition and this big show. They can be, but doing smaller events kind of helped me focus on the very specific details of what I need to do to make sure that, 1, it's cost effective, 2, the people are enjoying themselves, and 3, you'll be able to have everything kind of fall together without having to contact so many resources. By being your own resource, I can get these things. I can do this myself, instead of trying to pay someone or find someone to do a lot of the things that I just don't have within my reach. So that is what that event taught me. And I did that with the art party here. I kept it simple. I said, okay, I don't know if people are into doing live drawing, like drawing a model, which is what my events were before, but maybe I could just have a community canvas. Let me just get a big canvas and let me get people to paint on that. And then maybe I'll have a still life centerpiece. And if anybody wants to try to copy that and draw that, that'll be cool. There's no money. There is money, but it's less money. It's no muss, no fuss. It's simple. And people just might want to chill. So if they're not doing either one of them, they just want to chill, have a good time, and listen to music and talk. So yeah, man, that's something that I'm learning on this journey of curating events. I really like to put things together for people in a way that's sensible for them,
Right. Bring people together, provide a vibe, and let them do their thing. It doesn't have to be over the top. Because a lot of times you come and go to events, it's like, oh, you have to be so involved in it. And it's just like, no, maybe I just want to be here without being such an active part of it. Yeah.
And you'll see what the people do. You learn from, okay, all right, some people just want to come and chill, man. Don't have 5 activities, and you're going to have to buy all of the necessities needed for each activity, and people only participated in 2 or 3 of them.
they didn't come to overwhelm themselves, right?
Right, yeah.
So you obviously have this interest in art. What were your hobbies? What were your interests when you were a kid? Were you any sports you were playing, any instruments, or just what were your hobbies and interests in general as you were growing up?
No, so as a child, I loved dancing. I took taekwondo as a child. Music, mostly I was mostly doing a lot of singing. I didn't play any instruments, but I would play with the piano. I didn't take any actual lessons, but I would play with the piano every now and again and just play by ear some songs. But mostly I was involved in singing. I was in the choir a lot. I took voice lessons. I did honors course when I was in middle school, and in high school, Potomac High School concert choir. We was pretty dope, and I did a lot of singing with them. So like music was more of the focal point for me when I was a lot younger. And I think like sports wasn't really a big hobby for me. Like I would play basketball like with maybe a friend or two. If I was at the playground or at the court, I would play it. But sports wasn't really my thing. Wasn't really my thing. It was just for me. I was just like I was always the girl who could sing. That was me.
That's how I met
Yeah.
you, right? I met you at
Yeah.
Apache Cafe in Atlanta.
Yes,
And
yes. First there, and literally 3 weeks later, I think, if
yeah,
that in DC, I spit that.
right. Yeah, we were doing shows,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
saw you spit that, which was like wow, because yeah, it's the arts community. Even along the East Coast, it can be kind of small when you get into these. Like, it's only a few cities on the East Coast where these major cities sometimes
yeah.
you can cross paths. So you were in the dancing, you were in the taekwondo. How long were you in taekwondo? Like,
Let's see. I started Taekwondo when I was 9, I think. 9. And yeah, and then no, maybe 8 actually. I think I started when I was 8, and then I did it all the way up until I was 13. I didn't never make it to a black belt. I only made it to a brown belt.
okay.
Which
I
was
brown
what?
belt too.
It was one belt away. Yeah, it was one belt
Well,
away.
did you
And
have to do it? I did taekwondo maybe 2 or 3 years. I know I had to do like red belt. So we had like a red belt and then a red and black belt and then a black belt. And I was just like, you seem it's so close, but yet so far away. Like
so I think well at my school the red and black belt meant that you were a junior black belt, and having a full black belt meant something else. I don't really remember what it was.
Okay.
It was so long ago, but yeah, that's what it was for my school.
Right.
But we didn't have red, like actual red belt, but we did have a red and black belt, and I do remember that meant like a junior black belt.
Okay. Gotcha. I think we had a red belt. It was a while ago. So those are your hobbies. What were your parents' hobbies, and what were your parents doing for a living?
So my dad was really, that's another thing. So I also kind of tapped into modeling a little bit as well. So my dad was he liked taking photos. Like it was mostly what I saw him doing a lot of. Like he was into photography. He was into the whole like switch from film to digital when digital became a thing. But my dad always loved taking pictures. He loved photos, and he always loved using me as a subject. And so that was really cool. That was really fun. I got into Barbizon modeling school, I think in 11th grade. Yeah, it was like 11th grade or something. Was that 11th grade?
Which is
I think it was.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I did a little bit of like, like fashion shows for schools. Like whenever somebody had a fashion show, I did like 1 or 2 of them, I think in high school. But I was into that. But my father, outside of photography, he'll do a little bit of fishing. But yeah, that was really much it for him. And my mom, she was only around up until I was 8 until she passed away. So like, I don't really know what she liked doing in her spare time or the things that she enjoyed. From what my dad told me a lot later is that, she loved to sing as well. She never like did singing, like performed or did anything like that. But it was something that she loved to do, and also travel. Travel was just very exciting for her. So yeah, that was really cool. I was like, oh, well, it makes sense now. Look at me.
Yeah, you were definitely singing. You definitely still in the arts, and obviously traveling too. Like you have a whole traveling business, Bohemian Footprints, which we're going to come to, and we're definitely going to talk about Bohemian Footprints a little bit more. All right, so make sure I'm not skipping anything here. Okay. So when you get to I'll ask you this. What was your first job? I think I know the answer to this. What was your first job, or what was the first like skill of yours that you got paid for?
So the first skill of mine that I got paid for was when I did figure modeling at Apache Cafe in 2010. That was the first time I actually got paid to model, because before then I was just taking a whole bunch of photos and doing photo shoots with photographers. And I was either paying for them to take my photos, or we just had an agreement where it was like a TFP or TFCD, and it was just no charge because they needed something for their portfolio and I needed something for mine. But yeah, I think yeah, definitely that had to be the first time I was actually paid for something that I was doing as a skill, for figure modeling. I had done modeling before, but never figure modeling. And I was glad that Karen at Apache Cafe got me into that because I loved art. And but I wasn't an artist. I was never like a visual artist. I was not a painter. I knew how to sketch a little bit, but you know, I was never really a painter. I never really like created things or, you know, made pictures or anything like that, but I was an enthusiast of it. So being able to now put modeling, something that I love doing, with art, it just grew a passion for me, and a passion that has lasted up until today, and like 11 years later. And I find that I really do enjoy, you know, being a figure of study for people who like to create or do art. So that was the first skill that I was paid for. My first job was when I was 17, and I worked at this little t-shirt store called Aussie Outfitters in Pentagon City. It was so small, and it was t-shirts that had a lot of inappropriate stuff on the front of it. Like, that's what it was. T-shirts with like smart alecky comments and just messages on the front of them. I bought a shirt that said, "I faked it." Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Terrible. Terrible. Yeah, it was crazy. So that was my first job. Yeah, and then, you know, once I got to college, I wasn't working or doing anything to get paid for anything. But yeah, like 23, definitely the first skill that I got paid for. Yeah. Oh, and then like I did do like some performances. Like I was doing like spotlight or feature performances. A little bit. I did a few of those in Atlanta. And I would get a little bit of that. I get a little bit of money from doing that too.
Where are you performing in Atlanta? I know you're doing Apache. What other places?
I was performing at Apache. Oh, I don't really remember the names, but it was one place, Apache Cafe. A lot of these places weren't actual venues. Like some of these were just like someone's garage or something like that. But it's been years. Honestly, I do not remember a lot of them, but I definitely did one at Apache. For Odell, the comedian. He had asked me to feature there one day. I believe also like I did a feature for Queen Sheba for one of her Sundays that she hosted at Apache Cafe. So I think I featured there twice. And then also at Cat's Cafe, it was a private event. Someone was doing like a private, it wasn't at their like open mic, but it was a private event, and there was people performing with music and playing instruments. And I also sang, and I was able to sing a few songs and perform a few songs. So I was paid for those, you know, like, and I was just happy to perform. It didn't even matter how much money I was getting. I was just like, oh, I'm just happy to do this.
Right. Also,
yeah.
I was promoting for Cat's Cafe. I think Graffiti Blue, I think that's the person who was hosting or organizing there. But yeah, it was
I remember that name. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that name.
I haven't seen him in a while. All right. What all cities have you lived in? What all places have you lived in?
So Temple Hills, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Mount Rainier, Maryland, Atlanta, Georgia. I lived in Kigali, Rwanda. 2006, 2007 school year, I took off of school. And my dad was working as mission controller for the federal government in Rwanda. So since I didn't have anywhere to live in the States, I went to go live with him, and I was kicking and screaming about it. I'll never forget. I was like, I don't want to come live here. No, but it was the best thing he did. That changed me. That changed me. Even to this day, like a lot of that is, yeah, like that was dope.
You don't really know what you're going into necessarily, right?
Right. And like, this is my mother's country, right? This is my mother's country, and this is my mother's culture. I don't know anything about it. I was raised in Temple Hills all my life. And then I went to Atlanta and lived there for 2 years before I took this year off. I mean, I visited Rwanda, but like living there, it was very scary to me. And I was like, living in Africa, you know, like honestly, at 18 years old or 19 years old, that sounds a bit intimidating. Living in Africa, like that was intimidating for someone who, even though I had traveled there, it was just intimidating to be like, well, living there, that's a bit extreme. Like, but it was the best thing my father could have ever done for me. And so I lived there it was about the duration of a school year. So I moved there, I think in September, and I stayed until April or May of 2007. And so then went back to Atlanta, lived there, finished school, then moved up to Maryland.
What were you doing when you're living in Rwanda? Like, what is your day-to-day like?
I was actually not doing much. I was like trying to figure out how to keep my time busy. So the first half of my time there, I was like doing some like volunteer work at the American Embassy. And I would just kind of like help out with, some of the people that were working there, just, doing whatever was necessary. Or like sometimes I would just go out with the drivers, like the drivers who worked there, they were Rwandan. And the drivers would sometimes just take me out in the city and just show me things like they had the time, like they would just, if they weren't sitting at the place where my dad worked, waiting for someone to get a ride, they were taking me out. And so that's what I was doing. I was also journaling. That's when I started my journaling journey. I was journaling a lot. I don't really know what I did with that journal. Kind of quite sad about that. But I was journaling there. And I also wrote on this website that used to, I don't even think it's still there anymore. I'm not sure. But do you remember this joint called Zanga?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Oh man, Zanga was like the first like online journal site, man. Zanga, oh man, it was XAN. Yeah, XANGA. And I was writing about my experiences there. But yeah, it was cool though. I mean, I was able to actually kind of like slow down and not have to do anything. Like if I was just chilling at home, it was just me chilling at home and just, kind of just relaxing and just taking time off and really just kind of understanding where I was in my life and cultivating myself into this new world, this new culture. And like really figuring out like, all right, after this, I got to figure out what's going to be the next step. I want to finish school. So and then I had met a guy there. His name was Chris. And he had lived in the United States for a little while, but he was also full like Rwandese, and he spoke full English and Kinyarwanda very fluently. So he and we clicked, man. We had a great time. He was really cool. We were the same age. So I'd go to his house a lot, and, like his mom and stuff would like invite me over for dinner. It was always cool. It was always nice to just hang around him and hang around his friends. And so that also, again, becoming familiar with the community, knowing friends who are there that are actually from there, knowing people who are actually from this city, this town, who have lived here, especially a lot of these people being my age. So, we had a good time. We'd go party and dance, and it was good energy. But yeah, like it was a nice experience for me. Definitely a period of growth.
Nice. Are you seeing family there that you
Yeah.
necessarily know?
Yeah. So I got up with some cousins. I had a cousin, so I would get my hair done. Her name is Doris. I would go to Doris's hood called Nyamarambo. And we would go to Nyamarambo to get my hair braided because they had the best hair braiders out there. And it was also kind of like, I don't want to say that it was the hood, but like they would make the implication like, oh yeah, like that's a little bit of, like kind of, they would just kind of say it was the hood, but it had great hair braiders, good like shops for like souvenirs, like jewelry and things like that. It was cool. I never did feel safe. I didn't ever feel unsafe.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like when they're saying the hood, are they basing it on crime or like economics or what? Like,
that's why I don't want to say hood, because I don't think that they meant that. Because when we think of hood, that's what we think of. And I'm just like, I don't feel that way when I come around here. I feel safe, but then, I wasn't going around there late at night by myself. It was during the daytime, broad daylight, when people are out and about and doing things.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what they would say. They like, oh, you got to be careful around there. And I'm just like, I'm straight. I I never go. I never went there by myself. I always made sure I went there with somebody, with my dad, with my cousin, somebody who at least is familiar with the area. I didn't wander into it, looking lost and looking confused. So yeah, but I really liked it. I really liked going there. Rwanda was a great adventure. I'd like to go back soon.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Now you come back to Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Finish high school,
Finish college.
finish college. Okay. So yeah, walk me through these college years, because
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the focuses of the branch normal. Just kind of
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what was the surprise in college? Like, what was something there that maybe you didn't expect, or something you would want? Like, if you're talking to somebody who's, let's say they're in 11th grade right now, they're thinking about going to school, like, what would you say to them about what they should expect, or something to look out for based off your own experience?
I would definitely tell them, like, if you're going to go to school, make sure that you study something that you think is very useful for you to pursue whatever passion that it is that you have. Don't really worry about doing what's practical. Do what's passionate. Do more of what's passionate. If you want to major in music. And don't worry about, oh, well, what is a music degree going to be? Don't worry about that. Just major in music. Worry about don't worry about what it's going to do for you when you graduate, because while you're in school, you'll be getting all the education that you need to learn about music in a way that, yeah, you can learn outside of school. Honestly, you can, but if you're going to invest your time and your money into this, do it into something that you love and that you're passionate about. So invest yourself into a major that you see can propel you in the direction of where you want your life to go. And also, it's okay not to know. Maybe you don't know. I don't think that it's really fair to put a pressure on an 18-year-old to say, you have to make the decision right now to decide what it is you want to do for your life. So if you don't know, take a year. Don't go to school right now. Take a year, you know that you want to go to school, but don't pay for a year to be undecided. Don't pay for that. Don't pay a year, because especially if you have to borrow or if you have to ask for loans or anything, don't pay to go to school for a year to be undecided. Go work a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to be frowned upon with working a little bit. Save up some money, gain you some real world experience out there. Then you might find, oh, I really enjoy gardening. I want to learn about botany. Okay, so I'm going to go and study science because I really love gardening. You could have just been working in the garden section of Lowe's or Home Depot and found, like, oh, I like plants. Okay, I want to learn more about plants. So go and major in science if you're going to go to school. Just really, really just understand that it's okay not to know right away. And also, if you do know, or if you have an idea, start with that. And you have the decision, you have, like, the option to change your mind. 2 years into studying biology, you might be like, I wanted to study biology, but I find that this ain't really what I wanted to study about biology. And then you might find that in your biology time, while you were studying biology, you might have found that anthropology class was very interesting. I like anthropology. This is actually pretty interesting. Let me see what's up with anthropology. Like, let me look more into seeing if that's actually fitting what it is that I envision for myself. So that's what I would encourage. That's what I would encourage.
Because like, it's different from like high school or anything. You're getting this general education in high school, junior high, and all of that. But college is like, no, like, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And like, that's, like you said, that's a crazy question to ask an 18-year-old, right? When you've been used to, like, parents making most of your major decisions and all of that. And now it's the decision about what are you going to do with the rest of your life. Your biggest decision is like at 18 years old a lot of times. And so, yeah, I like the idea of, like, really take some time to explore what you are interested in. And I would add to that, like, find out what anthropology is, find out what sociology is. I got caught up. I feel like one of the mistakes I made with college is that I didn't even know what some of these majors were.
Right. Yeah. Same here.
I hear the title, don't know what it means. Like looking back on it, I would have been a sociology major had I known what sociology was when I was
Okay.
18. I'm probably
Mhm.
like 25, 26 by the time I really understand what sociology even is. And so
Mm.
part of it's going to be asking questions about like, is there a major for this thing that I like? Talking to advisors, talking to teachers, talking to people as you see them out, right? So if you see the guy working in the garden section at Lowe's, like, hey, did you go to school for this? All right. Or like wherever you are. I've been going to a lot of arboretums and gardens in Philadelphia. So, it may be a matter of like asking those people, like, hey, what did you do? What was your training? Did you go to 2-year school, 4-year school, trade school? Like, what was it? And so, but I think I think that's really good advice. Just get an idea of what you want to do and really like dig in there without just, because it's crazy. Like for a lot of Black people in particular, who may come from families where they might be the first one in college or something like that. It's almost always be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find that to be the case here too. Because I've met some like kids who out here and they're like, yeah, I'm going like at the coffee shop. Like they're like punk rock looking kids, like dye their hair blonde and they wear like very eccentric clothing and they take bomb ass photos. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to university in the fall. And I'm like, oh, what you going to study? They was like, I'm going to study law. And I'm like, why? Oh, well, my father is a lawyer and he thinks that it's a good idea. And they are really doing it because that's what their family wants, or nursing or something. It's not really what they want.
And I've noticed that's a lot more pressure on foreigners. Even my friend I had a friend in college. He's from Nigeria, and he just had a lot more pressure about like, no, you need to be in this field as opposed to like, my family. Yeah, my family's from like, everybody's born in America for a few generations, and there's just a lot more freedom. Even if my family's not like on board with the particular decision, there is still the freedom. It's not so much pressure to be like in this particular field or anything. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, all right. So I have about 3 or 4 questions for you.
Okay, no problem.
Sort of rapid pace. And then I want to talk about Bohemian Footprints. So, not in order at all. If you could throw a music festival, right? Any genre, artist dead or alive, who would be the top 3 acts at your music festival?
Top 3 acts in my music festival, definitely Outkast.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to go see NERD in 2010 for a graduation present. My dad paid for me to go see them, NERD, Janelle Monáe, and Erykah Badu. The dopest graduation present I could have ever seen. Yo, and NERD killed it. And I mean, everybody did really, but I was a fan of NERD live. Like hearing their music on the album, yes, but hearing it live is an experience. So Outkast, NERD, and definitely Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've grown fond of their music as well. So I think that they're pretty dope. I think that they will also be really dope live as well.
No, I haven't seen them live. I can't. I still hope to see them one day. Do you have a favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers album?
No, actually, there are just particular songs that I like, but they are all coming from different albums. And I have a favorite, like it's on my Spotify. Like I have the favorite songs from them, and I don't know what they are right now, but I really enjoy just like if I just feel like in a rock mood, I'll listen to them on Linkin Park or a few other like other bands in high school that I used to listen to as well. But yeah.
I got in Red Hot Chili Peppers when they put out Californication, which has to be like 2001, maybe 2000.
Okay.
Californication. By the Way comes out the summer between high school and college for me. And like, this is 2002. And that's one of my favorite albums. And really got the song By the Way is on there. The song Zephyr song is on there. A few different songs on there, but it really got me through because I was super scared, like going from high school to college. I didn't know what the hell was about to happen. I'm going from Alabama to Georgia, and like I remember like driving a whole lot that summer, and like just playing Red Hot Chili Peppers, and like it just calmed me down like a whole lot.
Nice. So you got into them right towards the end of high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get into them until a lot later into adulthood. I was like 26 or 27 when I started learning about them. Yeah. And that was the album that I first listened to. It was some guy I met at MJQ. He was playing Californication.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. He was playing the Californication. I was like, who is this? And he told me, and I was like, I've never actually listened to them. So yeah. Then he played another song, which is my favorite song from them, Under the Bridge. Which I think came out way back.
Yeah, it's like 91, 92. It's on Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic. Like,
okay, yeah, I love that one. And on Californication, I also like their song Other Side. That was a dope song too.
Dope video too. Like that's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. I think they go back to like the early 90s, 91.
They go back to the 80s, which is crazy.
They go back to okay.
The 80s stuff I can't even listen to. It's so like I can some of them. But it's a totally different sound. What's crazy, Outkast and Red Hot Chili Peppers, they both work with George Clinton, right? So George Clinton is on the Equimini album on Synthesizer, the song Synthesizer. But George Clinton like was around for all of Freaky Styley, which is Red Hot Chili Peppers' second album that came out, I'd say like mid 80s, something like that. But yeah, they were working with Red Hot Chili Peppers, working with George Clinton. It's crazy. They have stories. They talk about it like in their biographies and all that stuff. Like, yeah, doing drugs with George Clinton and stuff like that. It's crazy.
That would be like, that's why I was saying like putting that together for a music festival. And there's more, but the top 3 definitely goes to them. They gotta be.
That's a
so trippy.
People always like. I have a lot of friends that thought I would be into NERD, and I don't. I haven't they haven't gotten a true chance from me. I'll say that. Like I need. I feel like I should really go listen to something and watch some live shows too.
Yeah. I think I don't know if they're doing anything as of lately. I haven't really seen anything as of lately, but Seeing Sounds was definitely my favorite album from them. And that's where they played a lot of, at that time, when I went to that concert, Seeing Sounds, the album was only 2 years old. So they were playing a lot of songs from that album. But yeah, it was really, really dope. I was really like, okay, I'm an NERD fan now. I'm into them.
All right, I checked that. They came out I think one of their first albums came out my sophomore year, and so I remember the style. I liked NERD style, like at the time, like some of the clothes and everything. Like, all right. So what's one of the things you're most proud of in your life, career, passions? What's one of the things you're most proud of so far? An accomplishment of yours?
I would definitely have to say that this trip to Thailand is the biggest and most proud accomplishment that I've had thus far in my entire life. Mostly not just because I left the country to go live somewhere else. It's so much more than that. But it led me to actually face a lot of the things that I had been avoiding in my young adulthood, and some trauma that I dealt with when I was very young that I just put away and just thought that, okay, I had to just kind of get through it and continue living. And I owe a lot of thanks to myself for having the courage to do that. And to make the decision to say, I need to kind of face my demons, like I need to really see what it is. Because the thing about life, while you are enjoying all of life's joys, I don't believe that you can enjoy life's joys without addressing the darkness of it as well. Like being able to appreciate the joys and understand how fruitful and how worthy they are is by understanding all of the darkness and all of the scary parts of yourself that need to be addressed, to know that you are worthy of this experience. You are deserving of this experience. And it just really all comes from just making a choice and saying, okay, I matter to myself more than I matter to anyone else. I matter to myself. And I made the decision to take this experience and open me up to a whole new understanding of Jalila and self-discovery and self-development has increased tremendously because of that. And I think that this can happen even if you live at home. Maybe that might have happened with the pandemic. I think that might have prompted a lot of people to do that, a lot of self-reflection. So I don't think that I don't think that living overseas is 100% responsible for it. I do think that it plays a very large part in it. But I do think that anybody can just make this decision to say, you know, there are some things I got to really work on within myself. There are some things I got to really understand about who I am so that I can be a better person, to be able to do what it is that I really, truly, and passionately want to do. And addressing the fears that you have within yourself is a very difficult thing. It's a very scary thing. But it brings about a lot of wisdom. And everybody's journey is different. You know, for me personally, my own journey has brought me to brought me to where I am. This is where I'm supposed to be. Whether someone was brought in a different place for their own journey, that's not really my concern. But I do know people who choose to live abroad and travel to different countries, and they still don't make this decision to do the work of self-development and self-discovery. You know, so like it's really just a matter of making a decision to change, because it's just something that we all fear. And I mean that from like a very foundational and radical standpoint. Fear of change, fear of saying that is totally foreign to me. I don't know how I'd be able to handle it. And so we just cancel it. We just say, I don't even want to look into it, when there's absolutely nothing that we can lose in this change that we need to take, whether that be moving to a different country or a different city or quitting your job, you know, like being able to say, I did it. Because I told my dad, I said, you know, I do want to continue living abroad. But if I moved back to the States and I stayed in the States for maybe a year or two or something, I wouldn't have no qualms about it, because I lived in Thailand for 2.5 years. I did it. I got it out my system. I did it. And to be able to do that, that act in itself is an act of bravery, but also to do the self-work, it's definitely the most proudest accomplishment that I've had thus far, because now I know I can do anything.
That's real. You made me think of two things. One thing, just talking about not being afraid of change. And it can be small things. So I remember you were visiting here one time, you're in Philly, and it was some cartoon or like animated movie on the TV. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And you were mad at me because I wouldn't even like give it a chance. And he was like, you just gotta open up your mind, KP. Like you gotta
really? I do not remember that. Oh, I wish I knew what cartoon it was. You remember what it was?
I don't remember what. I have no idea what cartoon it was. But I remember like as soon as it came on, I was like, nah, I'm good. And it was just like, and I was like, and this was just like this is me in my mid-20s as a Black dude, you know what I mean? Like I stopped watching cartoons when I was like 13. And so that was just a thing, like maybe 12 or 13. Okay. And so it just something that went into adulthood, like, oh, I don't watch cartoons. You know what I mean? I don't watch like anything animated. And like I had to change it. And it was crazy because I didn't peep it till you said something, right? I didn't even realize that was a thing I was doing. But then like, I don't know. So later on, I still think about that, obviously. But Coco is one of my favorite movies. I end up I try to give like animated movies like just more of a chance. I end up watching like Coco, and I think, you know, my mother has Alzheimer's, and so like Coco really gets deep into like this, like the older family members forgetting and things like that, but us remembering them. And Coco's like really deep, and I'm like, dang, like if Coco came out like a few years earlier, I would have like never given it a chance, like never seen it. You know what I mean? So just even on a small scale. But I like what you said about, and I'll say this too, we fear change. We kind of like, when we talk about like fear and change, we talk about like, oh, fearing something that's going to be worse. but or fearing that something will be worse. But we also fear that something's gonna be better too, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because better is different. Like we can fear anything that's different, even if the change is good for us, we can still
Hmm.
fear it instead of just like moving into
Yeah.
it and like
And
take.
there's a lot of projection that comes with that, like things that you probably think about that you're going to be fearful of. But when you actually do what it is that would bring you this great benefit, you find that you're not even worried about those things. And I was like, why was I so worried about that? Actually, I'm good. I'm not actually scared of that at all. So
Right.
yeah, a lot of it's just projection.
Yeah. And I like that idea of like, at some point make yourself a priority for like addressing yourself, right? Because we go like, oh,
Mhm.
I want to increase my credit score. I want to get this job. I want to go to school for this. I want to get this degree, or I want to
Yeah.
even like what you're saying, like, hey, I want to travel, but then people still like can do all these things and never address themselves to the
Yes.
point where
Yes.
they be in relationships, having kids, and still haven't addressed themselves until
Yes.
they have to, and it's in a like really negative space where you don't get to
Yeah.
enjoy like what it feels like to have address
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who live abroad and they're pretty miserable, So like, you could live abroad and you can have a great time living abroad. I do think that it does bring about a great experience for you. But that deep work on yourself, like you could go anywhere in the world, you're never gonna be able to run from yourself.
right,
Self gonna follow you. It's gonna come with you to Thailand. Yeah, it's gonna come with you. It's gonna ride with you on that motorbike. It's gonna be that monkey on your shoulder. Like, I'm still here. You could go ahead and have your little fun. But when you go back to bed tonight and it's dark and I start creeping up in your thoughts and stuff, I'm still here. I'm right here in your face like responsibilities.
exactly,
So
no matter what.
yes.
No, that's real, that's real. All right,
Mhm.
so speaking of that, so how many countries have you traveled to?
I've been to 18 countries in total. Yeah.
Okay, 18 countries in total.
Yes.
Can you just talk to us about Bohemian Footprints?
Yes.
Just a little bit, tell us what it is.
Yeah. So Bohemian Footprints is essentially like it's in simple, it's a blog. But I am growing it to a platform to pretty much showcase and document my creative events that I curate, the culture in the different communities specifically with Black and Indigenous people of color. And as much as even Thais probably will never admit it, they are of color. So being able to study the culture of these communities and understanding them, and also just about travel, like traveling off the beaten path. Um, Travel is not so much a very heavy emphasis on Bohemian Footprints because in order for me to do the things that I would like to do, traveling just comes with it. So it's just like, oh, and I also just want to show you the beautiful parts of the world. I want to show you this beautiful exotic fruit that grows here. It's very delicious, and this is what it offers. This is what it does. So just being able to document all of those things and just provide people an experience, a visual experience of what it looks like for a Black woman, for me, because there are lots of Black women doing this, but a Black woman for me, what is it that I do when I come into these places or these spaces? What is it that I offer? Rather than just consuming all of the experience that these places give me, I can show you what the experience is like for myself through my perspective, and also show you what I am giving back to these communities. And I do that with, educating or informing people of culture, of dynamic, and also like showcasing art and doing events and things of that nature. And it can happen anywhere in the world. It can happen in Washington, D.C., in Thailand, in Philly. It doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Or in Korea, or in Tulum, Mexico. So it really doesn't matter where it is, just as long as I'm able to highlight the real essence of what these communities, what their entire existence is all about. How do they sustain artistically, culturally, and economically?
So this interview we're conducting will be available on YouTube, which means anybody can see it in the world who has access to YouTube. But for
Mhm.
somebody who's Black in America, right? What's
Mhm.
the value of Bohemian Footprints, and what's the value of you documenting the experiences you're curating and also like your travels where you're living?
So I believe that the value that I offer is being able to I hope to inspire people to really figure out what it is that they can give back in the worlds that they surround themselves in. Not necessarily in a foreign country or anything like that. But if it does inspire you to travel, I really do hope that it does that, because I'm trying to tell Black people that you can go out here and see the world. You don't have to stay in the same place that you've been in. There's a lot to learn about different places in the world that you could like, that way more to learn there than you could just staying in the same place. So that's like the ultimate goal. Like, I want people to understand that you can see the world out there. You can learn a lot from the world, and learning so much from the world also helps you to learn a lot about yourself. And that's what I want to show people, that as you travel the world, as you see the world, as you see these different communities, these different people, you learn a lot about who you are. And the more you learn about who you are, the more you are aligned with what it is that you want to do with your own path and your destiny. That's what I'm hoping to do with Bohemian Footprints.
That's real. That's real. All right. So you've been 18 countries. Somebody who hasn't left the country, what are, out of the 18 you've been to, what are some you would suggest? Almost like starter countries, you know what I mean? They want to ease in.
Oh, they want to get there. Okay. Never left the country. I would say, out of my 18 countries, because at the Bahamas is a real good start. That's like baby feet, baby pool, you know what I'm saying? But if I also went to Cuba, top three, definitely one of the top three places I would have to say, Cuba. And that was really interesting. I really enjoyed Cuba. And I don't think that it was too extreme. Like, I don't think it was too extreme for somebody who has never left a country. I think that it would have offered them exactly what they would have loved. You would have seen people who look like you. You would have had delicious food. Maybe you don't know a lot of Spanish, but Spanish, for the most part, to Americans is not entirely foreign to them. So they would have been able to probably pick up on some new language. And I think that Cuba is a good, well, I don't really know how travel is to Cuba now. I think that they locked that down again, but Cuba was definitely a good starting point. I would say Bahamas, just to kind of have a feel of island life, just to kind of see the music that they listen to, the food that they serve and everything. It's still different. It's not America, although they have a lot of things that people can do for Americans or for tourists who come to visit. So you won't feel entirely out of place, but you will feel like you're in a different space. And I would have to say also, like, a little bit further away, Aruba, which is closer to South America. Very simple island, like they got a lot of activities for you to do. They got things for people to enjoy, to occupy themselves in and to enjoy at the same time. And then you just get or if you just want to spend all day at the beach, you can do that too. But also the same as like the Bahamas, different culture. They all speak English, but different culture. You'll see the influence there from the Dutch influence. And you get to learn about the music and the different food that they have there as well. So I think that those are like 3 starter countries that are good for people who have not left out of the countries that I've been to.
Okay, got you. And so outside of those, what are 3 of your favorite countries that you've been to?
Top three definitely have to be Rwanda, Thailand, Cuba. No specific order. If there was an order, that I would say Rwanda, because that's my home, that's my heart. That's like the heartbeat of it. Rwanda, Thailand, because living here so long and developing the relationship that I've had with it and all the adventures, everything. And it's been the longest place that I've lived. And then I would have to say Cuba. Absolutely.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my last question is, who's been one of the most meaningful people in your life?
Mm-hmm. So I would say that the most meaningful people in my life have been my dad, who, like, in a lot of ways, we're very different because we're 2 generations apart. He's baby boomer and I'm a millennial, and it's a lot of things that he doesn't understand, but he doesn't shoot it down. he supports it. He just says, okay, go, you know, like yeah, you could do that, you know? So like, and he also knows that things are just the way of life for me is different than it was for him. So like he sees a lot more potential that I see in myself. And especially when I'm finished with my journey here in Thailand, he sees a lot more of the things of what I can do for my life and for what or the options that I have. He sees them a lot better than I do, and he's older and he's wiser, and he's just assuring me that you're going to be good. You're never going to move backwards into what you were doing before. You're gonna go into a lot of things that's going to really put you in a direction that you need to be. And he's just always had that sentiment for me whenever I was faced with great change. He was the one that brought me to Rwanda to live. I mean, I could have stayed in the States, but it just would have been very hard. So he's like, you got to come live with me. Just come live with me. You'll love it. It'll be the best thing. Trust me. And I didn't know how much I wasn't understanding of how impactful that was, but it was because of him, you know, bringing me to Rwanda to live there and to really gain familiarity with my mother's culture. You know, he's like, you know, yeah, you raised Black American, but you know, this is also your life too. This is also who you are. So he helped me with creating an identity with another part of me because my mom had passed. So he's just like, I want you to know this part of you as well. You know, so that was really important. And knowing that part of me is why I do the things I do today. Knowing that part of me, finding that part of me. It took me going out of the place that I know. And that's what, again, as I told you, the mission of Bohemian Footprints, really understanding who you are outside of the confinements of what you're so used to. And the other person who was inspiring to me is my cousin Trinisha. She also has traveled a little bit herself. But she got married and had children. And she lived a successful life. And she's just always rooting for me. She's just like, you don't had nothing to worry about, little cousin. You could do this, you could do that. Like she's just like throwing me all the things that I can do. Like you could do anything. You don't even need to worry about that. Things I worry about. She's like, you don't even need to worry about that. You don't. Trust me. You don't even need to worry about that. You straight. And also just looking at what I've done so far, she's very inspired. Like she just always tells me that she's inspired and always assures me that I am just so inspired by you. You are inspiring. And so that's meaningful to me. I hear that from a lot of my friends, but knowing that, you know, my dad and my cousin have known me all my life, it means a lot coming from them when they see the direction that I've pretty much made for myself.
No, that's real. Like when I think about you, I remember when you first talking about moving to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I just couldn't even I couldn't imagine it. I knew you were going to do it. Like by the time you said it, like I believed you, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had a friend move to Bangladesh like a little before that as well. My friend Gina, I think you met Gina a while ago, but yeah. And so it was crazy. But the way it goes though is whatever the people around you do, it just expands what you can see for yourself as well. Mm-hmm. And so like. Yeah, I think about that a lot. And even when you were doing events in DC, like as you put as seeing flyers and you're promoting them and like tell me about them. I was like, mm-hmm. that's dope. You know what I mean? Because I say that because a lot of times people really do wait for permission. They wait for somebody to give them the green light or say like, oh, people look for a lot of affirmation or like just I don't know. Yeah, affirmations about like what you should be doing, you know,
or some sort of external validation. Yeah, definitely.
Validation is where I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I like that you just jump out there and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's really dope.
Yeah, especially because you know, like you're never going to lose. Like even okay, let's say I came out to Thailand and in 6 months I found actually this ain't for me. I'm gonna go back home. That 6 months I got something. I got something in that 6 months. So it's never a loss. You're not taking an L by doing it, you know, like you know, oh, okay. All right. That's what I learned in my 6 months. Now, all right, I'm gonna go try this again. Mm-hmm. And then you apply what you learned in that 6 months to maybe a different country, or you might go back to Thailand and try it again, you know? So, and that's what I mean when I say like, when I come back to the States, I won't even know like what things that I did not take advantage of, or what things I took for granted until I come back. After living here, you know, I'm gonna go back to America and I'm like, I didn't even know that this was something that I could, oh, I should have looked more into doing that. Oh, and I could do this. I mean, it opens your mind a lot wider. And I'm telling you, like being in a place where that shifts your entire paradigm of like day-to-day things and like things that are available to you in terms of resources, like having to pull resources the way I did to have my event here makes me know that when I go to DC, oh, I'm going to plug in everywhere, you know, because it's an abundance of people who do these things. So it's like, it's nothing for me to go ahead and implement a very efficient strategy to do what it is that I need to do for events and also for yoga. So I'm looking
That
much
was
that.
about to be my real last question, I promise.
It's okay.
How long have you been doing yoga, and what role has it played in your life?
So I started yoga in June 2018. It was a month or so like after my cousin Andrew passed away, because he and I were going to do it together, but we never got a chance to. So to help me heal from mourning, I started doing yoga. And then I started finding that it wasn't only helping me heal from Andrew, it was helping me heal in many ways. And so I picked up the practice in the summer of 2018 and I kept it going. And then I brought it with me to Thailand. And in Nakhon Sawan, I did not find a yoga studio to practice in or do anything with. So I had to keep up the responsibility of making my own home practice, following a whole bunch of YouTube videos and things of that nature. So and that's also another thing I would like to answer for your previous question. I'm also very proud of that. I'm proud of keeping up a consistent practice of yoga without having the access of studios and classes to just go to, drop in. It says like, nope, you got to do this at home. You got to wake up. You got to do this at home. Like you got to develop the discipline for that. So that's definitely something. Yoga has led me to really find the metaphorical reference in how I practice my routines on the mat and how I do that in real life. So however I'm feeling when I'm doing a particular position, if I feel frustrated with that, that might be that I feel frustrated because I'm having trouble with something in some area of my life and I haven't quite mastered it and I'm feeling frustrated. It's really a connection with that. Or I might have I have this patience. I might find that I don't have patience so much when I'm doing yoga, because when it comes to the body, you are moving it and molding it and putting it in positions that for 20 years you have been doing incorrectly and improperly. And so now you have to change all that, and it's not going to happen quickly. It's going to take time. And yoga has taught me that we live in such a fast-paced life that we're hardly ever present. We're hardly ever here. We're just always in the future, or we're dwelling something or from the past, but being just so present. And I see the luxury of presence in children, the way their laughter, their joy, and the way they have fun, like the luxury of presence, of just being right here and just, you know, being able to know what you need to do now so you have less worry about what happens in the future is what yoga has taught me. Absolutely. And as much as the body is something that needs to be trained, meditation also is something that trains the mind, as that is also a muscle. And a lot of people have trouble with that. A lot of people have trouble with meditation, but it is a very efficient way of calming the mind and body together so that you can just navigate when you go outside into the world and learn how to control and regulate emotions and reactions. And it has definitely done that for me.
Yeah. When you were starting to do meditation, what did that look like? Was that music? What amount of time was it? Is that like 5 minutes, 30 minutes? Like, yeah, what is that? What was that like?
So to be truthful, like my meditation practice didn't really start getting too serious until I went to yoga teacher training in February of 2020, because we were spending a lot of our days meditating and we were sitting for 20 minutes. And I mean, like sitting for 20 minutes. And after like maybe 8 minutes, I'd be like, we still doing this? Like, and that taught me. It was at that moment I was like, dang, man, I gotta work on this. And when I would sit for 20 minutes, I would just be like, yo, I just spent 20 minutes just like my mind was busy. I don't feel like it was, I don't feel like I was meditating. I felt like I was just thinking about 100,000 things in the past 20 minutes. But that's okay. See, the thing is that the practice of meditation is about you first learning how to let your mind be busy. It's not about just having it think about nothing. That's almost impossible. And the more you try to do that, the busier your mind gets.
Right.
So it was in yoga teacher training that I was learning to accept that the mind is busy. And as you notice and understand that the mind is busy and thoughts come and they go, the more you gain the skill of not attaching yourself to those thoughts and not attaching yourself to those memories or whatever. You see them like you see a cloud passing in the sky. Your mind is the sky, your thoughts are the clouds. You see that, oh, you see that thought. You don't follow the story. You see that thought, oh, okay, you don't follow the story. You're just kind of seeing them pass. And when you gain the discipline or the skill to do that, because even still, some days I meditate and my mind is very still and it's very clear. And some days I'm just like, oh man, no, it's not working. It's just, I'm thinking about it a lot, but it's an indication of what you are presently dealing with. So if you're finding that you're having trouble, like you keep following these stories of thoughts in your mind, that means that presently in life right now, you are following a whole lot of things or projecting a lot of stories in your mind. And it's communication with yourself. So now February 2020, it's August. So like over a year now, well over a year, I've been picking up much, much more consistency in my meditation practice. And I see how important that is in addition to the yoga practice. So, yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of Black folks doing it. I'm happy to see it.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend earlier. So we were talking about the verses. I don't know if you've been watching these verses battles at all.
I haven't seen one lately. What was the last one?
Dipset and the Lots.
Oh, and Jules or something. They said that he went to jail to get his teeth fixed.
Yeah, it was a video of something. His teeth were looking bad, like the whole front was like missing. It was crazy.
Oh,
that was a few years ago. So hopefully maybe that's fixed now. But yeah, they had the Dipset versus the Lots this past week, right? And Styles P from the Lots was looking real healthy. Like he's 46 years old. Yeah, he's 46 years old. He was jumping around. Like they weren't missing any lyrics. They weren't out of breath, any of that. And we were just like, man, like what are they eating? Like, and so Styles P has a whole like company, Pharmacy for Life. So they promote the sea moss and the black seed oil and all of that.
Okay, good.
The reason that's dope, that's coming out of hip hop, right? For like, you know what I mean? For hip hop to like, we had these negative connotations of it being like violence and just being about sex, right? To have like hip hop say it's cool to be healthy is like a game changer, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I just feel like that, and then like I feel like Black women have been on like being healthy for a little bit now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Right. And so I'm just excited for the Black community to even like get more healthy. We put a lot of focus on money, right? But to say like you said, like addressing ourselves, like does mean addressing our bodies and our minds as well.
Yes, exactly.
I like that we're like having more conversations about yoga and meditation, what we're eating, slowing down, resting sometimes, and all of that. So
yeah, and this is a part of the progressive change. This is where it starts, like, because the meditation and all of this stuff kind of leads us into more conversations about things that weren't talked about before in generations, before us. And so like we're understanding like a lot of things that within our community that need to be like changed or addressed. So I'm just really happy. And yes, I see it amongst the Black yoga community. I see a lot of people doing the work. They're doing the work, they're healing, and it's a very supportive community. And I'm happy to see Black folks really just emancipating themselves, because it's really beautiful to just understand and know like I have to keep myself together for the sake of my family or my partner or myself or the people around me. Like it's a movement, and I like seeing it happen. It is. It's gonna get bigger too.
Or no, for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
All right, is there anything else you want to share with us? Tell us about before we get out of here.
I just want to say again, like with my mission with Bohemian Footprints, as I explained before, I just want to encourage people. You don't have to live abroad, but I want to encourage people to just really just see the world. And it has been what I've been shouting from the mountaintops ever since I was like 15 when I went to Rwanda. Not 15, sorry, when I was 19, when I first went to Rwanda. Especially Black people, like, just go see the world, man. Go travel. Just go like see a different culture, eat a different fruit. It might look weird, but just eat it.
Yeah.
Like
YouTube
you
it.
know, like and
Check
yeah,
it on YouTube how to eat it.
yeah, like and just like life is for living. Like life is for living, and there's a lot of life out there to be seen, and there's a lot of life out there to be lived. And I just want to encourage people, young people specifically, even as young as high schoolers, right? Because I was traveling in high school. I want young high schoolers to be able to look around and see that there is a lot more to learn outside of the surroundings of your community. There's a lot more to learn. And I believe that the stigma is already being broken because Black travel is a thing. But I want people to really just understand that there's quality life out there to be lived and to witness, and it is magnificently impactful, and it has been for me. So yeah, that's what I would like to tell people.
Word. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Now I'm about to get some sleep because it's 3:30 a.m. here on Monday morning.
Oh yes, yeah, and I have to go get some food at the market, and my day is starting, or it has started. It's
What
like
time is
we
it there?
midway into it.
What
It's
time?
2:26, so I'm 11 hours ahead of you. It's 2:26 p.m. Yeah, so I'll let you get some sleep. But yeah, man, I enjoyed being a part of the Branch Collective. Right now, currently working on the website for Bohemian Footprints, but it will be up and running soon.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, whenever it's ready, I'll put it in the description for the interview. So
Okay.
people see it right below the video and everything.
Okay. And if anybody wants to follow, you can follow it at Bohemian, Bohemian Footprints. You can follow there, or you can follow my personal page. It's Gwizukuri, GWIZUKURI_OM. That is my personal page as well. So if anybody's interested in following my journey, come see me. Hit me up.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Jalila.
No problem.